Welcome to the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society's webinar series. Today's broadcast is a live broadcast. There's no handout for this webinar, so you don't have to worry about downloading it. If you have a question during the webinar, you can use the GoToWebinar panel. It's usually on the right-hand side of your screen. If you're using a web version, it might be a little icon. Some people have had issues with sound. If you do, please try another browser. It's probably on your end. We do want to remind you that NYG&B members have access to recorded webinars as well as the handouts for those webinars on our website. And I would like to welcome you and say this presentation, the contents, the handouts, the slides, and all other materials are under copyright and may not be reproduced or shared in any form without prior written permission of the speaker and the NYG&B. My name is Sue Miller. I'm the Director of Programs, and I'd just like to give you an update too to watch out for our NYG&B e-news. We have updates on programs, events, other things that are happening in the genealogy world in New York. You can also go to our events page, nygbs.org/events. You can follow us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, at NY Family History. And we do have a page with free resources, New York Essential Resources, at nygbs.org/free-resources. Today's presentation will be by Frederick Wertz. He's our Director of Digital Services. He does our website and web development, our digital marketing. He has a history master's from Fordham University, and as he puts it, a tree full of New Yorkers. Fred, welcome.
All right. Hi, Sue. Thank you for the intro, and hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here sharing a little bit about our brand new online records platform. This is a project that we've been working on for the past year or so, and it's really exciting to be able to share it with everybody. I actually did a little preview presentation earlier this year in January, and at that time it was a little bit of a sneak peek, but I am very glad to say that this is something that is currently live on our website. So I encourage everybody to go explore it after this presentation. It should be very delightful. And so let's get started. Well, I'll do a few slides just talking about the project and a little bit about where we're coming from and why we did this. And then we'll take a look actually at the live website and we'll explore some of the features of it, some of the most important record sets, and then I can, of course, answer any questions that you have at the end. So to begin, I think a good place to start is talking about exactly what is the online records platform. So this is a new area of our website. Our website is at www.newyorkfamilyhistory.org. And this is a place where you will be able to search and view all of the digitized historical records that the NYG&B has accumulated over the long history of our society. We really view this as the next 150 years of historical preservation, rather the beginning of the next 150 years. As many of you know, we turned 150 years old last year in 2019. And although we're a historical and genealogical society, when we're always looking backwards, we are also looking forwards as well. So we view this and, of course, all our other current initiatives as very much a foundation to move forth and to continue preserving and digitizing records and continue increasing access. So again, this is very exciting to be able to share with you. So as many of you know, we have online collections that have existed for quite some time in what is called the NYG&B e-library. And so before talking about this new platform, I just wanted to review how this is different and how this is the same from our existing e-library. And of course, these currently exist in tandem on our website. The e-library is fantastic and will remain up. So you actually have the opportunity to use both our new online collections, our new online records platform, as well as the existing e-library. Now there are similar, but there are some differences. So the new online records records platform is going to be entirely on NewYorkFamilyHistory.org. We are really grateful to our partners, Find My Past, who have been hosting the NYG&B e-library for many years, and those records will remain on Find My Past. They will remain accessible to our members, but the new online collections platform will be entirely on our own website. So on the online collections platform on our website, you will be able to search all of the NYG&B records at one time. This is a bit of a new feature, and of course, you will still be able to search all of the collections individually. You can also search groups of collections, but one new thing that we're excited about is being able to just query everything all in one search. We've also reorganized our collections, and we have, very much the same material, but we have taken the chance to really think about the ways we can make access to all of this material easier and quicker for people to get exactly what they need. And so we'll take a look at this a little bit down the road when we start to demo the actual website. But I think a good example of this is in the NYG&B e-library, the existing platform. We had very large collections. For instance, we had one called New York State Religious Records and New York State Cemetery Abstracts. But in the new online collections platform, we've broken them down into smaller collections based on the county. So you can certainly search all of the religious records or all of the cemetery abstracts at once, but if you're browsing and you really want to zero in on one location, you can look at a little bit more of a granular detail. And of course, we do have new and improved records on the new online collections platform. A lot of the material we have been putting a lot of work into improving. And, this is in particular the New York Genealogical and Biographical record, our periodical that we've been producing since 1870. We've done some really interesting things with, made it a lot easier to use and to search in new ways that are different from what has existed a little bit in the past. And I will, certainly go into detail in a few minutes on that. But we also have brand new material, and we plan to continue adding new material. We have a very robust digitization operation, which, of course, due to the current circumstances, is a little bit on pause at the moment. But under normal circumstances, we have a really great team of volunteers who come into our offices in Manhattan and work to digitize all sorts of exciting records. So this online records platform is going to be the home, for all of our new material as well. And we have some new features as well. I won't talk about them all in detail right now. We will see and explore them in a couple minutes when we look at the live website. But there are a lot of things that I'm really excited about, and a lot of this is based on feedback and requests that we've gotten from our members over the years. So I do want to go over what we kind of think of as our roadmap to release. As I mentioned, this is live and available to use on our website. It's currently in what we would call a beta test release. And this means essentially that the whole project is, let's say, 99.9% finished. It works fine. It works great, but there may be a few little bugs that people discover, and we want to gather some initial feedback, maybe add a couple more features before we're going to sort of officially release the platform. So now is actually a really great time to help us out and to kind of make your voice heard by going in and testing this out. And of course, let us know if you find anything that is a little bit broken or off. Fortunately, we have not discovered anything major thus far, so knock on wood, everything seems to be great so far. But this is also a good chance to give us some feedback. If you have a feature that you would like us to add, or something you're trying to do that you find difficult and think we could help design a better way to do it, this is definitely a great time to tell us. And we have several forms on our website, which I'll show you in a second, where you can submit this feedback. Of course, you can always shoot us an email or give us a call. Any way we hear about it, we're really thankful for. So once we sort of do this initial beta test, we'll have an official sort of release though again, it's not going to be all that much different than what is currently on there. But the one thing I do want to emphasize is that even after the release, we're going to continue to improve this. And improve this means, of course, adding new, exciting, useful content that has not been online before, but it also means adding features that our researchers and our users want to see. This is not going to be something that we just, leave alone and never touch again. It's very much going to be an active process of soliciting feedback, talking to people, and then making it happen as quickly as we possibly can. So one last thing I want to do is just a quick background on the project. And I am, sort of a technical person, and I'm very, excited and proud of the technology stack that we've used to create this. I certainly will not go into too much detail, though if anyone is interested in this kind of stuff, it's something I really enjoy talking about. But just to let everybody know, it's really built using a very modern framework, a modern stack of things, including a content management system called Drupal. We're using Amazon Web Services, Elasticsearch for the search indexing, and Bootstrap for the front end theming. So I imagine this does not mean very much to a lot of you, but I did want to mention it. And of course, if anyone is interested in more details, I would love to talk about that. But I think what is very important to mention to everybody in the audience here is that this really was created by genealogists for genealogists. The staff at the NYG&B was really heavily involved in the design and really from the very beginning to the very end, designing the system, helping give feedback as it was being created, and then helping give feedback on the final product. And, we are New York researchers, all of us, and we know certainly that we know the challenges of New York research in general, and we of course know the pain points of trying to do this kind of research online. So we have really done our best to keep that in mind and make sure that it's suited for you, the New York researcher. And I think, as I mentioned, we're, member feedback, we have been hearing from members for quite some time, giving us feedback on the, our website and online research in general. And we are really, really thankful for those, even if it has been negative feedback, if it's been positive feedback, we have taken it into account in designing this. So we appreciate what has been given to us, and of course, encourage future feedback as well. So again, just want to emphasize this is only the beginning. This is, I think, a really useful tool right now, but it will only get better. And so please keep continuing to use it and continuing to let us know your thoughts. That is very important. And before we begin the demo, I really do want to thank everybody here. Certainly, obviously, everybody for attending, but our members, the membership dues, your annual dues, really helped us out with this. And of course, the donors, whether it was a small donation on Giving Tuesday or a larger donation, everything is really useful. And, this has been something the NYG&B team has been working on for a while, but of course we could not do it without your support. So I really want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. This would not be possible without you. Okay, so let's get to the demo. And what I am going to do is switch over to a live view of the website. And I am going to go slowly just to let everybody know. And that is because the internet, especially at this time, is quite busy. And I want to make sure everybody, has a connection that allows them to see exactly what's going on. So I may pause at the beginning of some of these screens just to let everybody catch up, but we will definitely move forward. So this is the homepage of our website. Again, you can find us at newyorkfamilyhistory.org. You can also just do our initials, nygbs.org. That'll bring you to the same page. And you'll be able to find the new online collections platform in the collections and research section of our main menu. You can see, of course, you can still get to our e-library, but down here at the bottom, we have the beta test of the online records. So all you do is click that, and you will come to the NYG&B online collections homepage. And the first thing I want to point out here is that there is going to be an additional menu that pops up underneath the main navigation menu of the website. you can see the secondary menu here is related specifically to our online records platform. So anywhere you are, whether you're viewing an image or search results or at the main homepage, you'll be able to get back to all of the main sections from here. And we view our homepage as sort of this search all collections page, which is what we're looking at right now. And before we perform an actual search, I just want to take you on a really brief tour of the page. Obviously, the first thing we see here is our search box, which is what we use to query all of the records. But if you scroll a little bit further down the page, you'll see a section that may change from time to time, but we are putting our most popular collections right up front here. And right off the bat, you can see we have the NYG&B record, which is definitely a main thing people come to our website to use. So if you want to search the record and you only want to search the record, you can go right to these collections right from here. And we'll talk a little bit more in detail about exactly what these two different collections are for the record. Now there are two different ways to search, which is very exciting. But if we continue scrolling down the page, we also have a very short and brief list of all of our online collections. So this is our whole catalog of online records, and it allows you to quickly, get a really quick overview of exactly what we have available. And you can click on this view description link here. Will pop up a little short 1-paragraph description. And then of course, if you want to read more about the collection, you can click the link there. You can also click the collection title, and that will bring you to that specific collection page. And we'll take a look at one of those in a few minutes. Those are really useful. But for now, let's do a search. So we'll scroll back up to the search box, and we will search a fairly common name. Let's put in James Smith. So you can see, just like most other genealogy search engines, there's a field for first name and last name. You can choose to use exact spelling. I can go into a little bit more detail about this if anyone would like to ask a question at the end. I can elaborate, but in short, we do use a text search match algorithm that is, if many of you have heard of Soundex, it's a similar type of algorithm. It's actually called Metaphone, which is a little bit newer. But what this means basically is it does account for name variations. So sort of on the back end, it turns every name that you would enter into a more general kind of phonetic variant. So for instance, if we will be able to see last names that are spelled, SMYF, that's treated the same as SMITH. So I can talk a little bit more about that, but do know there is fuzziness. There are no controls needed to apply that. Though if you really do only want to use exact spelling, you can just check this box here. And so another area you can enter are keywords and locations. So if there is anything else related to the search that you want to put in, you can enter it here. We're going to leave this empty for now. But you can also add some advanced search criteria. So if you want to not search all records and not search an individual collection, but you want to search a type of record, for instance, if you wanted to look at all of our New York State religious records, you could select this from the menu, and this would immediately refine your search a little bit. But for now, we're just going to leave this for all. And we will hit search. And again, I'm just going to wait a second for everybody's screen to catch up here. And so now we're looking at our search results screen. And the first thing I want to point out is here on the upper left-hand side of the screen, you can see under the Your Search heading, the search you entered from the previous page has been pulled through. So if you want to change the search or update the terms, or if you want to just start a new search entirely, you can do so right from the results screen. You don't need to go back to the main screen. So of course, in the middle here, we are looking at all of our indexed search results. So the one thing I do want to point out is we have a variety of collections and a variety of data on our website. So of course, the gold standard is that we have what we think of as a fully indexed collection, which means that all of our digital images are accompanied by an every name index that includes the first name, the last name, and then additional context about that individual and that event, and then of course a link to view the actual image. However, not we are working to index everything that we have, but not everything is currently indexed. So you will see first, you'll see all index results. But if you scroll further down the page, you'll see this blue line in the middle, and then a second group of search results. And these are our full text search results. And we have a number of collections are what we consider full text search, which means they are not relying on an every name index, but when you're searching, your search is going to query the entire body of text of that document. And so these are, for the reasons basically because of the columns that are required for each one, an every name index, when you look at the search results, you're going to see a few different columns. So here we're looking at the actual text match and some of the surrounding text, the collection where it came from, as well as a little bit more information about that specific document. And then, of course, further on the right, you can see, the location category and click a link to view the image. Now, if you scroll back up to the every name index results, you can see the columns are a little bit different. And this is essentially why we had to separate these out into two different groups, is that there's no real way to merge them together and keep all of these columns. But you'll see in the every name index results, we have some additional contextual details. And this is really useful because it can help you evaluate whether or not you want to actually click to view that image. Here we're looking at a James Smith found in an issue of the NYG&B record. And of course, here we can see the volume that it was found in, the name of the article the name is found in, and then even the type of event that was being captured, along with the year, and then of course the issue and the page number. So the index results will give you this extra information, though it will vary depending on what the collection is. For instance, if we scroll a little further down, we can find a James Smith who was found in the New York County Ward 17 state census from 1855. And here we're seeing additional contextual details that are related to that census record. So we can see his occupation, his birthplace, his relation to the head of family, his age, and a few other things. So it's definitely always worth, clicking this additional details title to reveal more information. You can always click it back to condense everything a little bit more. And so before we view an image, I do want to show you another thing you can do here. On the left-hand side of the screen, below your search fields, you can actually refine your search results. Obviously, the name James Smith has given us a lot of results, and we may not want to look through everything on here. So we have some options to refine the search. And you can refine by the category of the collection. You can refine by the collection title itself, or you can refine by the location of the collection that the name came from. So just as an example, if we want to look at only the James Smiths in the New York Times obituaries index, we can just choose that from the refine list. And now we're looking only at James Smiths found in this specific collection. It's really easy to just, you can certainly click the back button if you want. You can also click this button to clear filters here, and your original search is going to be loaded. One of the cool things about this is that you can actually layer these different refine actions on top of one another. So what I mean by this is if we want to look at all James Smiths in New York County only, we can refine by that county so that we're looking at James Smith from a variety of collections that are all related to New York County, or most of us know it as Manhattan. And then from here, we can refine further. So if we want to look at only religious records from Manhattan County or the borough of Manhattan, we can refine even further as well. So there are a lot of options, and if in case your searches gather a lot of results, you can refine them pretty easily from that menu. So let's take a look at one of the actual images. Of course, one of the best things about this is that all of these images are right there from the search results. And this will open a new tab in your browser. So if you do want to go back to your search results, all you have to do is click over to the previous tab. That is done intentionally to make it a little bit easier for folks. And so here we're looking again at a page from the NYG&B record. You'll see on the upper left-hand side of the screen, you'll see some contextual information about the document, including the name of the collection, the creator of the document, and then of course the year. And since we're in the record, we're looking at the volume and the issue as well. And of course, you'll notice actually at the top of the image viewer, there is a subtitle, which is probably the most useful. Here, I can highlight it up here. This is probably the most useful piece of information that you'll find outside of the image viewer. It'll differ depending on the document, but in this case, it's telling us the exact month and year and volume and issue of this page of the record. Say we were looking at a religious record, we would see the congregation name. If we were looking at a cemetery record, we would see the cemetery name. And so that's going to be very useful in helping you figure out exactly what you're looking at. Then, of course, in the center, we have the actual image itself. You will notice that we are loading only this page from the issue. This is done, again, intentionally. It helps the page load really fast, but that doesn't mean you can't go to the pages before and after it. If you do want to manipulate the image, this blue toolbar at the very top of the image viewer is where you're going to find all those options. So we can search within this document. We can find exactly where James Smith appeared. And you can see his name is highlighted in green at the very bottom here. And again, as I mentioned, you can go back and forth very easily. If you want to continue reading the article, you can navigate to the next page. You can continue navigating to the page, the page forward and after. If you decide you want to jump forward in large chunks, we're on page 49 now, but we can easily just go to page 80 and hit enter, and we'll be taken right there. And then again, one of my favorite features of this is if we get a little carried away with our browsing or we forget exactly where we were to begin with, you don't have to remember the page that you first arrived at. You can just click this button, return to original page, and we're going to go right back to that page where we originally found James Smith to begin with. So of course you can zoom in and out if you would like to. That is very easy to do. And then moving further along in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can view the image in the full screen mode if you'd like to. You can print the page. You can also download the page. And one special feature we have is for all of our periodicals, and this is only for our periodicals, you can actually view the full file. So I think it's very easy to go back and forth between these pages, but if you would prefer to scroll or you would prefer to download the whole image, you can just click this view full file button and it's going to open up a new window that's going to have the full issue that you can either, again, you can download to your computer right off the bat, or you can, scroll and read right in the image viewer. And again, if you want to search, if you want to search within a full issue, you can do that in here as well. It's going to search only this issue, so that can be a very easy way to find exactly what you're looking for if you know you're looking for one issue in particular. And one new feature that I actually just added this afternoon, again, based on some beta test feedback that was really fantastic, is if you have used the record before, you'll notice that we often publish articles in installments. So if you find a serialized article, you may find a note in the very beginning that says this article has been continued, from volume 45, page 100. And it's very common, of course, to want to be able to go read the other serialized version of the article. It's very complicated to link article to article, but what we've done is if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, we've made it really easy for you to hop volumes within the image viewer. So if I wanted to look for volume 45, I can just hit apply here, and then I can see this menu just appear right below this search box, and I can go view any of these issues right away. And so this will help you, navigate, within the collection of the record. And this is going to be also available from the individual collection search page as well. So this is our image viewer. I definitely encourage everybody to come in here and explore. The record in particular is something that's really fantastic collection and definitely worth exploring. But another way to explore everything we have is our basically our collections catalog. So if you scroll up, oh, actually, one thing I wanted to point out, I got a little ahead of myself here, is our feedback form. If you look in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you will see this provide feedback button. And you can, if you want to leave us general feedback, there is going to be a link that's always available in the beta test feedback in the main menu up here. But if you want to leave us feedback that relates to a specific image, the best way to do it is to fill this form out right here at the bottom of the screen. You can just click that button, and if you want to leave your name and email, you certainly can, but you don't have to. But this is mainly if there's an error related to a specific page. So maybe, hopefully not, but maybe the PDF page is not loading. Maybe there was a mistake in an index with the spelling of a name, or a name is not where it should be. And these things do happen, and we certainly want to know about it when they do happen. So it's really helpful for you to just let us know, and you can describe the error in this text box in a few words, and you can click submit. And what that's going to do is it's basically going to send me an email, and I am going to get the exact URL of that page, the exact image number, so I can go take a look at what's going on, and then we can fix it as soon as possible. Of course, if you want to leave us general feedback there, you can do that as well. That's definitely no problem. So returning to what I was saying a moment ago, we have another way to look at all of our collections. And of course, we were just searching all collections, but we can also browse all of the collections as well. And this is a little bit, we saw that very consolidated menu right below our search box that gives an overview of everything. This is basically an expanded version of that on its own page, but this is a list of every single collection we have, along with some information about the collection. Now, if you're looking for something in particular, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, you can search collections by title. You can also look at collections based on category or location. And then in the middle here, you're going to see a listing of every collection that meets whatever criteria you've put in on the left. Here we're just looking at every single collection, but this is a nice way to just get an overview of what we have. Definitely, especially if you're not an NYG&B member, I'd encourage you to come explore this area of the website. And one of my favorite things about this new platform is the amount of work we put into our collection descriptions. So if we look at a specific collection, let's click on our Albany County religious records here. So these are going to be all of our religious records related to congregations within Albany County, New York. And you'll see at the very top of the page, we have a short description of exactly what is in the collection and exactly the nature of those documents. If you go a little further down, you can see you can, of course, search this collection only. So when you run a search from this page, you're not going to get results from everything. You're only going to get results from this collection, which is definitely useful. Before we go further down, I want to point out on the right-hand side, we have a lot of helpful information. So we can see here we have a link to our online Albany County research guide, which may be useful, but we'll also put in links if we've done a blog, if we've done a webinar, or if we have a subject guide that can really help you use what's on this page. We're going to put it here so you can easily find it. So here we're looking, this is a blog article that are about these religious record transcriptions, which were done by the NYG&B archivist named Royden Woodward Vosburgh in the early 1900s. This is really one worth reading. I won't go into too much detail, but these are just fantastic transcriptions that were done, and an interesting story that was happening about 100 years ago, which is always interesting. And then looking further down the list, we can see we also have a blog on using religious records as vital record substitutes. I'm sure most of us out there know that New York vital records are tricky and at times frustrating, and one of the top substitutes that researchers can use are these type of religious records. So if you are searching for vital record substitutes, you may want to also look at this blog for some tips on using them for that specific purpose. Looking further down, you can also see related collections. So we will show you collections from the same county that are different kinds of records. So we can see Albany County Cemetery records here, but then we're also going to show you record types or collections of the same record type that are from bordering or geographically close counties. So if you're unsure exactly where those ancestors were and you want to explore some of the neighboring counties, you can do that as well. And scrolling further down here, and this is really where the value is on these pages, is below this main search box, you are going to find an exhaustive description of every different type of document in this collection. So because this is a religious record collection, the documents are broken down based on congregation. Sometimes there are multiple volumes for each congregation, but what you're going to be able to see is exactly what's included here. I know, a personal frustration of mine is sometimes you get to a page like this and you can't really tell what's in there, and it can make it difficult to use. And so we really worked hard to dive into all these records and to look at everything that's in there and create these descriptions, which I think are really useful to use. And these are included in all of these are what are called waypoints. And a waypoint is basically a link to a specific image in the whole series of images where a particular section begins. So you can see this is a table of contents for this specific volume. So for all of the Albany First Lutheran records, we have links to every section of that volume. So of course, you can search and query the name that you're looking for. But if you would like to browse, and again, not all of our material is searchable. Some of it is image only. If a volume is image only, you'll see it mentioned up here. In this case, we can see that this volume is text searchable. But if you want to browse, or if you want an overview of the exact coverage of what's there, you can look at this little table of contents here. So we can see we have births and baptisms from 1784 to 1842, as well as 1787 to 1836. There are also marriages and the dates, and lists of communions and confirmations, and a number of different things. And if I'll just scroll down. We won't look at every one of these in detail, but you can see this type of information is there for every single congregation. So I think this is really, really useful, and it helps you decide, if you really do want to search this record set. It helps you plan your research a little bit better, as opposed to, just getting into the search right away. And one thing though, while we have a little time, I do want to show you, just because I love these religious record transcriptions so much, and that is because they're done in a really expert fashion, where Mr. Vosberg would go, to the actual church, or he would arrange for the church volumes to be sent to him, and he would of course transcribe them in a very careful, expert fashion. You'll actually find in here, you'll find a notarized document, that sort of swears the transcriptions were accurate, along with the person who verified the transcriptions were accurate. So they're done in a very official capacity, but he really went above and beyond that. He also learned everything that he could about the congregation itself. So this is why these waypoint links I think are really useful, is even if you did find a name, say in the births and baptism section, that is going to be great information. You're going to want to save that and download that, but you'll also want to come back to this collection page and then take a look at what else is available in the volume. So here we can see we have historical remarks, and again, just as an example, I'll open this up in a new tab, and you can see once the image loads that we are, exactly at the section we want to go through. So we don't have to be browsing around through the pages or anything. But this is going to be, this is going to give you really important historical information about the congregation. And we don't have time to explore too many of these today, but you're going to find more than just the history of that congregation. You'll find information sometimes about the history of the denomination in that whole area of the state. So you may get research leads on other congregations to look into. You'll find really useful information about large groups perhaps that came or went at certain times, so it can help us track migrations. So I really would encourage you to explore all of these collections, but especially our religious records, because they can provide some really useful things. And again, this is something that we worked hard to make sure is as easy to access as possible. You can see also here there's going to be some really useful information on the location of places. You'll often find maps and illustrations in here as well. So it's some really good stuff. And before I take some questions, I just want to show you a couple more collections, because I've been talking a lot about the NYG&B record and our religious records, and I have mentioned our cemetery abstracts, which are really useful. And these collections are really big, and they sort of tend to cover entire counties or entire states, and those are certainly the ones we love because they apply to a huge, wide audience. But there is a lot more, in these online collections than just those type of records. The NYG&B has been accumulating all sorts of really rare and fascinating records that are not necessarily covering a huge, swath of territory or a large number of people, but they're really useful records in and of themselves. And of course, it's really important to kind of preserve this historical material. So just as an example, we have a collection that was done by one of our scholars, Frank Biebel. Oh, sorry, I'm searching the wrong term here. I just want to pull this up. Yeah, so this is, and there are dozens and dozens of these, and we, won't have time to look over all of them, but I'd encourage you to explore this catalog to see what we have. But this, I think, is a really good example. Now, this is a compilation of newspaper articles, actually, that Mr. Biebel, who's an NYG&B fellow, created in 2013. And this is a very labor-intensive, process that can't be done by a computer or, anything like that. He dug through newspaper archives and he found stories and lists of shipwrecked passengers. And these are important because shipwrecks would not often be counted in immigration records. So these contain people who may otherwise be missing from, Castle Garden or the Customs House. You can see this happened in the 1800s, so we're not quite at Ellis Island yet. But these are people who would essentially be missing from other collections that we might find elsewhere on the internet. And these were found, in various, microfilm newspaper archives. And Mr. Biebel brought them all together and he transcribed them and he put them all in this collection. And this includes stories about the shipwrecks. They're really fascinating records. And again, there are not millions of names in here, but this is really, really useful. If you can find an ancestor in here, that is amazing. But even if you can't, it's just important to preserve this kind of material, for future generations. So I would definitely encourage you all to look. And again, you do not need to do a search, but our collection descriptions have a very thorough exploration of exactly what is in each of these collections. So definitely encourage you all to explore. And as we have a little bit time left here, I am happy to take any questions. But again, just would like to encourage everybody, head over to our website and see exactly what we have here. I did not go over it, but if you want to read our About section, that'll give a little bit of background on the NYG&B's preservation efforts and exactly how this ties into our mission. And then of course the What's New section is always going to be updated with new online records as well as new features. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, that you've asked either throughout the broadcast, or if you want to, put them into the questions window now, I'm happy to answer. But of course, as you explore this, feel free to drop some feedback in any of those forms. I'm always happy to reply, so just leave your email address and I'll send you a message. And of course, you can email us directly as well.
Thank you, Fred. Have a sip of water. You've been talking for a bit, and
Yep.
absolutely, we do have quite a few questions. We also have quite a few thank yous for people who are anxious to explore the NYG&B collections from this new perspective. What I will try and do is we have several people who have been asking some of the same questions, so I'm going to try and combine those things. One of the first ones was, and I think you just answered it, but will you be adding new items to the what we used to call the e-library, now our online collections? So would you like to speak to that for a moment about new collections?
Yes, yeah. So the answer is absolutely yes. We have a very busy pipeline, so to speak, of new
Hmm.
data. Things that we are currently digitizing, and I will tell you, we actually have some things that are ready to go online, and we hope to bring them online as soon as possible. But yes, and to speak sort of more generally to our approach is what you might call an agile approach, meaning we're not going to wait and save up everything to do one huge update, once a year. We're going to get things online as soon as we can. So that also includes, if we have, say, we've digitized a bunch of documents that we know we need to index and we're going to plan to index, we're going to actually put those images online in an image-only format just to get them out there, because we just want to get things online as soon as we can. We want to get the images available as soon as we can, and then we're going to go back and we're going to work on the index, and then you'll see in a future update that collection will eventually be indexed. So yeah, yes, the short answer is absolutely we're going to add new stuff, and you can always head over to this page that I just opened up, our What's New page. The first section you're going to see are about our new records. So if you ever want to know, certainly keep an eye out in our NYG&B e-news. That'll be the fastest way to find out. But if you want to check periodically, you can always return to this page and see what we've added recently. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to have any new features that are available are going to be on this page as well.
Okay, very good. Um, One of the next group of questions I'll say is a number of people are asking what is available for members versus non-members, and what are the differences in viewing and downloading things?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So non-members can look at collection descriptions, and they can look at all of these pages up at the top, and you can query searches. The thing that are reserved for members are the actual digital images of the documents, with a few exceptions. So we do, if you're an NYG&B member, you have access to everything, all, the full all of the record, all of our religious records, everything. We do have some collections that are available to non-members, and these are things like the New York State Death Index, the New York State Birth Index, the New York Times Obituaries Index, and a few others, including some things that we have planned for the future. And these you can view without being a member. You do have to register just so you can sign in, because of various kind of image hosting things that have to do with some technical things. But there are a number of collections, and actually, if you look in our help section, we have in our FAQ, we have a list of what collections you can view if you're not an NYG&B member. And again, this is really just this is our initial list of these, but we certainly plan to add things, for NYG&B members only, but we also plan to add lots of things that are open to the general public as well.
Okay. And is this site, you said it's in beta now, is this open to everyone now?
Yes, it is. It is. The NYG&B members were certainly the first to know about it, and we had a short period where we were really kind of intensely focusing on their feedback. But at this point, anybody can view this and perform searches and even give us feedback as well.
Okay. On searches, one of the questions the person asked is presumably the search is Boolean, question mark?
Yes, that is correct. We debuted with the simplest, most streamlined process, and one of the things that we have pegged for early editions is a little bit more flexibility and the types of search, maybe even the different search algorithms we use. But yes, it's that it is Boolean for now. Yeah.
Okay. As I'm scanning the questions here for a moment, one of them has two specific things. One person says the shipwreck passengers, fascinating. Another person is asking on the Albany church records, the Lutheran church, there were two sets of date ranges. I think what she's asking is sometimes when these collections are obtained from a church, do you reorganize the sets, or are they preserved the way the institution who created the records left them? And maybe
Yes.
that's why there's two different date ranges?
Yes, yeah, and so the short answer is yes. Those are transcriptions done in as exact, they're done exactly as they were found. And so that's why it's actually, I think it's important to look at those table of contents is, the churches obviously were not always the most organized, and yeah, sometimes then you'll find interjected, oh, these baptisms were done by this minister during this time period, and they're separate from the other baptisms. But yeah, we don't want to really assume anything, and the goal is to just capture the documents exactly as they exist, even if that's sometimes in a little bit of a crazy fashion.
Right. Okay. Hang on a minute. Let me just scroll down because there are still lots of thank yous and people who are very excited about the platform. And yep, a lot of thank yous.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, thank you everyone for for listening, and
Okay.
certainly your support and interest is vital.
A couple people were asking about specific counties, and Fred, I think we've got coverage for most counties. Some are statewide databases, correct? So they may not be listed under an individual county and the state. Can you talk about that maybe a little bit?
Yes, that's a right. That's a really good question, and I'm glad you brought it up, Sue, because that is that is something to know about this. So we do, if we have a collection that pertains only to a county, for instance, Albany County religious records, we'll put that as Albany County, and we'll tag it with Albany County, and you'll see that it's available in the menu there. One of the tricky things is a lot of our collections pertain to all New York State counties. For instance, I think the record and the researcher are probably the best examples. Our periodicals, there is absolutely things for every single county in New York in all of those collections. But the way these sort of taxonomies work and tagging different these collections, it really wouldn't work for us to tag the record with 62 individual county tags. That would be very kind of unwieldy. So we have a one tag, and you can, if you would like a deeper explanation of this, you can look in our FAQ. We have one tag that is called all New York State counties. So you may not find a particular county in our list of counties, but I can tell you there will be information on that county in the collections that have been tagged all counties. So that
Right.
is something to know, and that it's it's a little bit of a challenge kind of getting the data to work exactly how we want. But yeah, the all counties will cover every single county.
Right. Okay. I know we're coming just about to the end of our time. We did have a couple of questions that people were asking about vital records. Rather than answering them in this session, which has to do with the online collections that the NYG&B holds, I think it'd be great if those of you who have the vital records questions, tune in to our upcoming webinars on New York State birth records. We just did one on death certificates. So I think we better hold those for that. And if you can just go, Fred, for one moment to the collection page for the record. I think a couple of people had a comment or question about the record. The
Okay.
NYG&B record is our journal. That is the name of the journal, the NYG&B record, just simply the record capitalized. We've been producing the record for over 150 years now. And one of the questions was, do you have any records for New Amsterdam? Well, many families from New Amsterdam and New Netherlands have been covered in the record over time. So the record is one of the periodicals. If you're doing New Netherlands or New Amsterdam research, you should be checking the indexes of the record for your family names. Anything you'd like to add to that, Fred?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely totally agree. I mean, we even have a blog article actually about using the record for Dutch research, colonial Dutch research, and
Mhm.
it is, that's one of the strongest, I think, specific subjects that the record includes. And I'll just say that it's really great because a lot of the really hard work has been done for you, and you don't have to go and be looking at Dutch manuscripts. You can rely on the work of professional and expert scholars who have done that for you, and it's really valuable for that record.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would say if you have Dutch colonial Dutch names, search the name index right away, and you're almost certain to find something in there.
Okay. Well, I think we've pretty much come to the end of our time today. Thank you very much, Fred. We will make sure we download the question log so that if there are specific things that we can help with, pertaining to the online collections, we will let you know. And I'm sure we'll be doing some more sessions in the future. And this will be recorded for NYG&B members. It will be up on our website soon. So thank you to all of you who were with us today, and we hope everyone stays well and healthy. Fred, anything
Yes.
else?
No, yeah, thank you so much, Sue, and thank you, of course, everybody for watching and listening. And yeah, if you discover anything else in the course of your searches, definitely let us know. We would love to hear from you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll see you
All right,
again
yeah.
soon.
Have a good afternoon and evening. Bye.